Hey, this is Tanel Jappinen, and you're listening to Me, Myself, and I Radio.
Welcome to Me, Myself, and I Radio, a self-discovery podcast. Here are stories of transformation and hope with your host, Anthony Hayes. It's time to be inspired. Let's go.
Gotta get up, it's early morning. Drank so hard last night, my lids are swollen. Got my guitar, gotta get to a studio. Got a track and I think it's gonna hit, yo. It's been so many years and there's been so many tears, and it's gonna be well worth the pain, see, when all my people line up to see me. Cause I got no money, got no home.
If you enjoyed that introduction song, that is Lovestruck Robot coming through again with the tunes, this time with Do It All for the Dream. Head on over to lovestruckrobot.com or download that on iTunes right now. Good morning, good afternoon, hip hip hooray, me, myself, and I Radio Tribe. My co-pilot on today's self-discovery journey started blogging as a way to document his experience and help other first-time parents be present and involved in raising their kids. I wish I would have found this blog a little sooner. It's okay. It's here today for us to look on. I had the honor of sharing my own story actually on his show, Brand New Father Podcast. I'll drop a link to that interview so you can check it out in our show notes here for today's episode. But be sure to check that out. Tanel Jappinen, let's get into Me, Myself, and I, shall we?
Sure, I'm ready.
So TJ, you've been able to basically gain insight and perspective into being the best brand new dad that you can be through your writing, through blogging, and interviewing others on your show. This is an awesome element of you as a person, and as well as a father. So how did this come into being? How did this whole thing start, this discovery process, if you will?
Well, before I answer your question, I do want to stress, like you kind of said it correctly, that this has given me the opportunity to be the best dad that I could be. Yes, there's no way I can be the best dad ever. It's a lot of pressure, and it's something that I struggled with in the very beginning when I started blogging and podcasting. Because who am I to say how to be a good dad? But I can share my own journey, my own struggles, my own wins, and just what it means to be a new dad for me, and then what it means to all the guests that I've had on the show. So
yeah, awesome. I think a lot of people relate to that. So totally.
But it's tough, man. Now that I've been a dad almost 2 years. Our little one turns 2 in 3 weeks from when we record this. So
happy birthday.
Yeah. Well, maybe when it airs, she already has turned 2. So who knows?
Oh, is she in April as well?
No, she turns 2 in the end of January. So
the end of January. Oh, okay, all right. I couldn't remember. My daughter's April in early April. So okay, cool. Yeah,
but
awesome.
It's very difficult. I mean, it's not really, if you want to be conscious about your fatherhood journey or your dad experience, and you really want to be a good dad, and you're willing to put in the effort. I mean, it's very tough because, I think like most people, we're the hardest critics on ourselves. So it's kind of, I have high standards for myself, and it's not always easy to deliver or match these expectations, I guess.
No doubt.
But I guess it all started actually about 7 months before I became a dad. I was working overseas. I'm originally from Europe, and that's where I live now as well, in Estonia, a tiny country, northeastern corner of Europe. I was working for a US-based corporation for 11 years before quitting about a year ago. And I was overseas in US. My wife was back home here in Estonia, and just one Sunday afternoon, like we have these regular Skype calls, and she's just dropped the bomb on me. And I just, and that's just a funny story in itself, but just the way I reacted to it, I kind of bombed with my reaction. Because I was very tight on time, and I was running late on an appointment to a mechanic, and she didn't know my timing either. She just dropped the bomb about the same time when I was about to pull on driveway of the car shop.
Yeah.
So I had to call her back.
Oh man!
Said, well, that's awesome news, honey. But can I call you back? We kind of left her hanging for a little while. But it just But it's just that weekend really changed my life in a way. I mean, I kind of had anticipated that this may happen in the beginning of the summer when I left Estonia, but it still kind of caught me off guard, and it changed my priorities like nothing else. I couldn't even have imagined how much it would change my priorities. So
it does, doesn't it?
Although the money was good, we got to travel. We've traveled thanks to the job and the income that it provided, and all the incentive trips. We had traveled past decade to 35 different countries, 25 plus different states in US, and the money was good, but just couldn't really put this lifestyle, like working overseas and being away from family and being a new dad, just couldn't work it out. And so I had to call it quits last year. Or actually not last year, now already 2015. So I took a year off, started blogging before I became a dad, few months, just leading up, all the lead up there, just the nervousness and maybe some level of anxiety even. And then I blogged for a year, and then started the podcast almost a year ago from now. It's 15th of January 2016. So I will be.
Oh, awesome!
I think I will be publishing episode number 100 on the 1 year birthday. So.
Oh, excellent! That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
So that's kind of how it started, and that's kind of as short as I could put this experience. How it all got started.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's an awesome journey, and there's so many, ups and downs that you were going through, so many things you were experiencing for the first time. I know personally speaking, I can totally relate to that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there listening who can do the same. There's unforeseen circumstances in our future, and the most important thing is whenever something does come up, to adapt. And it kind of sounds like that's what you did. You just shifted. You had to make a change. You made the change, and obviously for the better, because you've got a beautiful child, and even a small win in the grand scheme of things. But the anniversary of the podcast, I mean, it's just all these little things, they kind of add up to just an amazing journey. So I really appreciate you delving into some of that stuff right away. That's awesome.
Sure, and you are right about that. It's just. It was a big adaptation, or just getting used to this new reality. And now, I mean, when we talk about this now, it may sound like it was fairly easy or quick adaptation, but it was nothing close to it. I mean, being a new dad, it's just the job or the description of being a father is constantly changing. I mean, being a dad to a few-month-old baby versus being a dad to an almost 2-year-old, it's very different. And the demands on your resources as mental and emotional resources are different, and so on. So I'm constantly, that's like what you said, it's just constant adaptation, constant process, and constant learning and evolving, I guess.
Yeah. I found that, for men, not to discredit women, but for men in general, with becoming a father and going through these life changes, there's so much expectation on us to be the rock and the big strong man, and to not have emotions, because we're supposed to be the safety net of our family. But that's not exactly true, is it? There's so many emotions and so many anxieties that come to the surface, and that's something that I know I experienced too. And it sounds like blogging and podcasting, this is all it just helped you through those situations, helped process it. I love that.
Yeah, it definitely has been, in a way, a therapeutic experience for me, just to kind of process my own emotions and thoughts and so on. And I think you are right in the way that traditionally this is how we've seen men. I mean, they're the ones that basically bring home the bacon and I don't know, then just drink beer and watch football and whatever the traditional male figure.
The American dream.
But I don't think it's really true in today's society or with the new generation of men. And I think a lot of men in their mid-20s, and I would guess even younger as well, maybe early 30s, such as I am, they don't really agree with this idea of manlyhood or masculinity, that they have to be stoic and they have to be almost like emotionless, or to feel emotions is unmanly. And
Right.
and I think it's a good thing, because otherwise we would just bottle up these emotions and we don't really process them, and we don't really
Exactly.
learn from these situations, and we're not prepared for the adversity when it comes later on down the road as well. So
Yeah, that's so eloquently put. I love that. Keeping that stuff bottled up, and it's a ticking time bomb, because then it's only a matter of time where it blows up, and not in a good way. So just being able to process those things, to get those feelings out, to get those thoughts out, and to utilize these resources, whether it be writing about it, blogging about it, podcasting about it, talking to a loved one, an uncle, somebody like that, just whatever it is, you gotta get it out. You gotta find an outlet.
And I think it's just a lot of young men now, they feel like, because of this traditional masculinity, I don't know, idea, that it's not, I guess they just almost like are looking for this permission to talk about these things. But it's always difficult to be the first to open up and share these true feelings with your, I don't know, your best friend or someone, or a good friend, or I don't know, cousin or whoever it is. But then again, I found that when this trust is there, and somebody kind of gives this permission to another one, or just opens up himself, it's actually, you can have very, very deep conversations. And it's awesome that you can, because what I've found through this fatherhood journey as well, because this is something that I've needed to process, and I've needed to reach out to other new dads or even more experienced dads, and just kind of process this, my own experience and my own emotions. And it's a cool thing to experience that even though this new role in my life, being a new dad, has put me in situation where my time is really at premium. I don't have as much time to hang out with friends, to go out. There's definitely a lot less spontaneity in my life, especially when it comes to social life. So it almost has been conscious decision from my end as well, to maybe focus on less number of friends, but just focus on the depth of the relationship versus the breadth. So that's something that I've learned on this journey. And
quality over quantity. I love that.
And
that's great.
When I've had these more like meaningful, deep connections, it's been very, very cool experience to actually connect on a deeper level with some of my friends, and that's something that I truly believe in. It's just the quality of my social life depends a lot more on the quality of these relationships that I have, not the number of relationships or number of connections that I have.
That's cool. That's a really good point. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially as we get older, because there's so many things we are responsible for. We have to wake up. We have to go to work. We can't sleep until 10 a.m. anymore like we used to in college. Those things just aren't reality. So finding that time, those little pockets to make it meaningful and special is something we just have to figure it out. And it differs for everybody. There's 24 hours in the day, but that 24 hours isn't spent the same for every single person. It's very unique to each of us individually. And in doing that, you're able to find time for podcasting. So how does that play into, like, people ask me that all the time. They're like, when do you find time to podcast? I'm like, I don't know. It just, whenever I can.
Well, that's something that I've had to learn now, or I'm learning right now as well, because I've been podcasting for a year, but whole 2016 I didn't work outside the home. I took a year off to stay home with my wife and the baby or little toddler, or however you call her. And so I basically was focusing on just doing this podcast, doing the blog, connecting with other dads online, and just I'm actually putting together a membership site or community for new dads to have this wolf pack or band of brothers that they can actually share their true feelings, even if they, for example, if they don't have these connections in their personal life.
Oh, awesome.
So that's something that I was working on most of the 2016. So I was working from home, and now I just started working for somebody else from December 1st, 2016. So I've been working for somebody else for a month now outside of home. So I'm learning myself now how to fit this podcasting in. But fortunately, I guess I've proven my value already with a month, and my employer is fairly flexible as well. So I'm putting in 10 hours a day, 4 days a week. So Fridays are off for me.
Oh, wow.
So Friday is the day where I focus on my own online platform, podcast and blog, and then just weekend is exclusively for my family.
Oh, wow. That's that's an ideal setup. I wish I could have some type of schedule like that, but for me personally, with retail, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Some days I'll work till midnight, 1 a.m. Other days I'll have to be in at 4 a.m. It's like kind of all over the place. So I like that you've been able to set your priorities and really just focus on what's important and how to go about that in the future, and really lay the foundation for 2017, because it's a brand new year. So I envy you for that, my friend.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like I have everything figured out, but it's something that I'm just testing, and I've tested it for a week now. So, but it's something that I really, I like this setup because I have no problems with waking up early, and our baby's, or our daughter's sleeping schedule is a little bit weird as well, that she goes to sleep fairly late, maybe 10, 11 p.m. and she wakes up 9 a.m. So it doesn't matter whether I start working 8:30 or 7. I don't really lose any family time. So
gotcha.
I start working earlier. I'm the first one in the office, usually for almost 2 hours, and then everybody shows up 8:30 at 9. And so I've already kicked most of the urgent stuff out of the way. So.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. I this self-discovery process, and I think you nailed it on the head. It's a constant, it's an evolution. It's something that never stops. We never stop growing as parents. We never stop growing as individuals. And I think just to be able to hear it from your perspective, your early on, the traveling you did and everything that brought you today, all your me, myself, and I elements just kind of wrapped into one. I know that everybody listening is really going to enjoy this conversation, enjoy your story, and everything that we speak about on the shows. Obviously, I'm going to make available for everybody at memyselfandradio.com/TJ. And then we'll drop the links there. We'll have great quotes from the episode and just everything you guys need to know to make yourself a better person and to excel your own self-discovery process. We're going to do that. And yes, good stuff. So along your journey, along your discovery process, along becoming the TJ we know today, there was some things that maybe helped you, things that gave you inspiration or hope, some resources, if you will. What would you say is something that the listeners could go check out that kind of helped you?
Well, my professional background is in sales. So from very, very early on, I was introduced to the concept of maintaining your own attitude or controlling your own attitude and controlling your own self-talk. So one thing that I've went back again and again is a book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. It's not really a new book. I think it's been around for many decades. I may be wrong. I would say I think it's from 70s or 80s.
Oh, I'm gonna check that out. That sounds like right up my alley.
But it may be newer as well. Just don't quote me on that. I think the author is Shad Helmstetter.
Okay.
And he talks a lot about different scripts that we play and the negative self-talks that we have, especially when we're not aware or conscious about how we treat ourselves. So just one thing, I don't remember if it's from the book, but it's just connected to that idea. It's just, if we would treat our loved ones or our friends the same way sometimes we treat ourselves, we really wouldn't have a whole lot of friends. So sometimes we're just too critical of ourselves and too tough on ourselves. And this negative self-talk is very easy and natural for most people, and it takes conscious effort to kind of rewrite these scripts in our head and just start having more of this positive self-talk to support the better self-image as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That mindset is something that's so valuable that, like you said, it's not really something that is natural. You have to work at it. It's not something they teach in school. You have to use these resources. You have to read these books, and to constantly evolve yourself. And that self-talk is something personally I struggle with. I struggle with it every day. So I'm going to check out that book.
Hey, I don't have all these things figured out as well. Like we talked about it. It's a constant process. So, but it's a big step forward is already being aware of your self-talk and noticing these scripts that you play. And cool thing is this has helped me a whole lot in sales. And now as well, when I've been transitioning to this new lifestyle and have had to change my lifestyle. And another thing where I find this becoming useful now as our daughter is growing up is just a lot of times kids' self-talk comes from their parents and how their parents talk to the kids. So I can also just be a little bit more aware of how I talk to my daughter and just kind of set her up, hopefully on a little better track than I was set up from early age.
Gotcha. That's awesome. That's great advice.
So that's, I think, one of the resources. Can I share two or second one as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
And second one that I actually read this almost 7 or 8 years ago when I really didn't connect with it back then. But I reread it a couple times now that I'm a dad, and it has made a very big impact in my life. And it's a book again. It's The Power of Full Engagement. And well, that I guess it's one of the points of the book, but this is the biggest takeaway for me, is that all of us have 4 types of energy or 4 types of resources, and that's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual resources or spiritual energy. And there are different activities how we can kind of refuel or restock our resources, and that has helped me a whole lot from my fatherhood journey. And also being a better partner for my wife as well, because she experienced postpartum depression. And it was very difficult for me to recognize or notice it in the beginning. But once we did, we actually had some couples counseling. And this book has helped me a whole lot to manage my own different resources and then also hers.
That's and great. I'm adding that to my list as well. Thanks for that.
And especially when I'm as a partner, the biggest takeaway for me was just how to manage our mental resources. And I also could see the reason why she burned out mentally, and which contributed to her postpartum depression, because she didn't really have any variety or diversity in her life. Basically she was mom 24/7 because I was putting in crazy hours, and she really didn't have any diversity back then. It was about 4 or 5 months in a row when I worked about 80 or 90 hours a week. That was before I quit my job, and we were in. She was with me in Canada, so she was alone in a foreign country, didn't have a support group, and I was putting in 80, 90 hours a week. And basically what I boiled it down is just the mental resources were just so depleted, and she really didn't take any action, and I didn't notice and didn't see the need to change something either, because I just didn't recognize her state.
No doubt. Well, I mean, in the end, it all sorted itself out, and those resources are going to be awesome for somebody that may be going through something similar, that can relate to it, or to prevent something in the future as well. We learn so much from each other, from having these meaningful conversations to getting to know other dads, other parents, other people in your circle. So I appreciate you doing that here with us today, TJ. And, to bring everything kind of roundabout and to get in our time machine of, if you will, and kind of go back when we were 21 years old, what's something you would say to yourself at that point?
Well, I haven't really prepared that much, but I think something that connects with my professional life in sales and now being a new dad and all this transition to this new role and new reality, something that's always has been true, especially when I look back to, is the saying that nothing is as good or bad as it initially seems. So sometimes it's just so easy to do this. I don't know if I think it translates to in English as well. Just go through this mental mushrooming experience. That
Cool.
Just something happens, whether it's usually when it's bad, and just you start going on and on and on. It's just make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and just almost to a point where you kind of feel this anxiety and negative energy in yourself. But it's just always, I try to remind myself that nothing is as bad or as good as it initially seems. So, and usually it isn't.
Cool. That's an awesome one.
I mean, it's just usually it isn't, especially when you look back to this situation or this time, I don't know, 5 days, 5 years from now, from the situation, depending how serious it is. So,
sure, that's cool. Yeah, those are that's good stuff, man. I'm gonna grab those quotes, gonna put that in the blog, and so everybody can reflect on that wisdom and everything that you've shared here today. If for any reason people don't already know where you're at, they haven't listened to the podcast, which they should. Shame on you guys. Where can they find out about you? Where can they find out about everything that you do, TJ?
Well, it's definitely not for everybody, but if there is a dad that's listening or fairly new dad or still expecting their special delivery, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to check out the website. It's brandnewfather.com, and the podcast is also Brand New Father podcast. And I recently started a Facebook group as well for new dads, and I don't really remember the link to it, but it's just if you go to brandnewfather.com/Facebook, that takes you to the Facebook group page.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Well, I'll be sure to grab those links as well. And I'll also put everything on our website, memyselfandradio.com/TJ. So it's just easy to get involved, to connect. And at the end of the show, TJ, I tell everybody out there who's listening, no matter who you are, no matter what your circumstances are in life, to control the controllable. As for the rest, keep on flowing and just be. That's everybody, right. This has been Me, Myself, and I with TJ. Just slayed it, man. I'm really so appreciative that you came on, and it was great to talk to you again. I really hope you have a great 2017. I hope that we can talk soon.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on. It was great.
You've been listening to Me, Myself, and I Radio with your host, Anthony Hayes. Tune in next time.
Tell me what to do.